Hello you guys, and welcome back to How to Hustle Happier. Today we're going to be talking about mistakes that you do not want to make as an Instacart shopper. Now these mistakes also apply to SHIPT shoppers. Some of them are going to be more applicable just for Instacart though. So these are things that I myself have made or I've seen other shoppers make them, and so I'm just going to point them out so that hopefully you don't make them, because it seems like Instacart is getting kind of more and more picky about its shoppers. I say this because it seems like there's an issue where a lot of Instacart shoppers are actually getting deactivated, and you do not want to be deactivated. I'm telling you, even if Instacart isn't great for you right now, it's just always great to have that gig in your back pocket if one of your other jobs falls through or something, even though I know it's not making as much as it should be or as it used to be for most people anyways. So let's go ahead and get into the mistakes that you do not want to make. Now again, you guys may be like, duh, obviously you do not want to make these mistakes. But you know what? When you're in the mode and sometimes you forget about things and you just kind of get robotic with your job and what you're doing, and so it's easy to just completely forget things. So I've made most of these mistakes once or twice, I am not afraid to admit. So first off, you do not want to click the start shop button until you are absolutely ready to shop. So I've seen people click that button while they're still in their car, and that's okay, I guess, but it's really gonna affect your shopping time. Now, my shopping time is about 55 seconds, I wanna say. It's normally in the 50 to 60 second range. I will say, I think it has definitely gone up since I've come to in a different town, because my shopping time at home got fast because I was so used to the stores there. And in general, I found that the workers at stores at home were better at stocking items. So obviously my shopping time was shorter. Just don't press the start shop button too soon. Okay, now this next thing might seem kind of obvious, but do not grab frozen items first. Do not grab them in the middle. Absolutely grab them last. I try and grab refrigerated items second to last and then frozen items last. That makes sense to me. However, I'm seeing customers complain online that shoppers are getting frozen items first, which really just doesn't make sense to me, because it's also about the experience of the customer and them getting the food that they want in the condition that they want. So I'm not really sure why that would be an advantage to a shopper to grab frozen items first, but absolutely grab them last. Even if you have bags to keep them cold, the customer doesn't necessarily know that, so they might go ahead and get upset with you. Even if you're keeping them in a bag to keep them cold, just don't grab it first. You don't want the customers angry at you from the get-go. Okay, now this is something that I actually see fairly often in notes from customers, and that is do not leave the groceries directly in front of the door. I think it's funny because it's something I didn't really realize when I was first shopping. I never really thought about that, honestly. I probably piled them like right next to the door thinking that I was being helpful. You can always check and see which way the door goes, whether it's gonna go into their house or whether it's gonna open towards you. But if it's opening towards you and you're leaving the groceries, do not leave them directly in front of the door. It irritates people so much to have to push open the door and push all the groceries away, especially if you're delivering cases of water or soda or something. First off, I'm sorry you're having to do that. Unless you're getting good pay, then I'm not sorry. But anyways, just do not leave it too close to the door either way. Also, don't leave it 10 feet away. Don't leave it 5 feet away. Try and estimate how far the door is going to come out, because people are just super picky about that. Something that you want to be aware of is just don't rush customers in their responses. Never send a follow-up question mark. You can't emphasize messages through Instacart messaging. I would hesitate to re-ask a question unless you absolutely need to. Don't call unless you've texted first. Unless their message specifically says to call them, then go ahead and call them. Obviously listen to them before you listen to me, but I would just say do not rush customers in their responses. If they've read it and they still haven't responded, do not re-ask. They will get irritated, potentially remove their tip, and potentially review or rate you badly. Now, this is something that might be kind of controversial, because your response to this might be, well, Amanda, I'm just taking the batches that I can get, and if they're low paying, then there's nothing I can do about it. But I guess my tip is do not take low paying batches. Now, I would like to do a video where I take no tip orders for a day. I am worried though, because some people have said that if you start taking lower paying orders, Instacart is more likely to give you more low paying orders because of the algorithm. So I don't want that to happen to me, but I also wanted to test out taking no tip orders because I feel like in my town, from what I've heard, you're not necessarily gonna get a tip added. You're probably not going to. And it's actually fairly likely that the people who are not tipping are also the most likely to be dissatisfied with what you give them. This is not always true. I'm just saying in general, actually, the people who tend to up their tip are people who are already tipping well, in my opinion. The people who are tipping $2, $3, $4, $5 rarely up their tips. This is just in my town. You can comment down below if you have a different experience where you shop, but I'm just saying for me, don't take low paying, low tip orders unless you have to. Okay, so my next tip is to not bring up the fact that you are delivering to multiple people at once and that you're shopping for multiple people at once unless you have to. If you make a mistake and message the wrong person, trust me, I've done that. If you haven't, that is very impressive, where I'll be like, hey, so they're out of the kind of vermicelli noodle that you want. And then the person will be like, what is vermicelli? And then I'll be like, oh, sorry, wrong person. And then they know that I'm probably shopping for multiple people at once. In general, don't bring that up because it makes people feel less special. It makes them think that they don't need to tip as much because they think, oh, well, they're shopping for 3 people at once. I don't need to tip them $10. I can tip them $5. I can tip them $3. I don't know if I've actually had that happen. I just feel like if I was a customer and I found out the shopper was working for multiple people at once, I would be less prone to tip as much. This is if I didn't know anything about Instacart. Now that I know stuff about Instacart, I would never remove a tip because I found this out. But just don't talk about the other customers to the other customers. Don't bring that up unless you have to. The tricky thing is though, if you're delivering to say customer C, customer D, customer E, if you're doing delivery only, then they can sometimes be a little confused as to why it takes you so long. And then they'll be like, either where are you, or they'll be impatient, or they'll be upset when you get there and it takes a long time. So honestly, in those instances, I don't always know what to do. If it takes me a really long time to deliver to the other people though, sometimes I will bring up that I had deliveries Instacart made me do first, just because I don't want them to think that I'm dilly-dallying, because I don't want them to give me a bad review. Okay, now this is something that I pretty much do every single day. And I'm kidding. I don't do this every day, but I feel like I'm always shopping with my phone on low battery mode. And that's partially just because it seems like my phone is not holding battery well these days. I have a iPhone 11. I'd like to get the 12 just because, as you know, I do videos on my phone sometimes and do shorts and stuff on my phone. And the 12 does have a higher camera quality. So I would like to upgrade to the 12, but I need to save up for that. So I will say though, if you can get a phone with a long battery life, that's gonna be ideal, because shopping in low battery mode takes longer. I think that my phone glitches more when it is in a low battery. It's going to start shutting off very often, and when you're in a store where I am at, you're wearing a mask, which means you can't unlock your phone with your face, so you have to enter in the ID, and that takes extra time, which while you're shopping may not sound like a lot of extra time, but it actually does make a difference having to reopen your phone, reopen the app and everything. So I just highly recommend, if you can, buy a charger for your car if you don't already have one. And if your car doesn't have a charger, I feel you, because I've driven in cars before that were so old that there was no way to charge my phone. But make sure that you charge it overnight, and then charge it while you're looking for batches at home if you can, so that it is at 100% when you leave the house and you start shopping. And then also bring a battery pack, rechargeable battery pack, to plug your phone into, maybe while you're at the store if you have to. That's a little bit clunky and cumbersome, but just any ways that you can keep your phone battery up are gonna be ideal, because I have delivered to people with my phone at 2% before, and you know how terrifying it is to realize, like, I've screenshotted and texted someone the address so that if I had to call from someone else's phone to get the address for the person I'm delivering to, I could, because that just sounds like a nightmare waiting to happen if your phone dies and you have someone's groceries and you don't want it all to thaw and you don't want your customer to be mad. So anyways, just keep your phone charged if you can. I don't often have this problem, but sometimes I will swipe too soon, and it's just not a good idea to accept batches, I would say, unless they're over $50, because if a batch is over $50 in my area, I never get really orders with over 100 units or with over a couple hundred pounds of soda or beverages or something. So for me, if it's over $50, I would probably swipe without looking. But if it's under that, I would highly recommend looking before you swipe. I just know some newbie shoppers I've seen just take any orders that come their way. And if you're absolutely desperate, I suppose there's nothing that you can do, but I would recommend waiting to see if you can get a better batch before just swiping randomly, because I'm wondering if all those terrible batches that get taken are because people swipe without looking. They don't even look at the number. I guess they just see a batch and they swipe. Maybe they're really desperate, but at this point, like if you're shopping and you're doing multiple services for $7 no tip, unless you just feel like playing the lottery and risking that they're gonna tip you, you're probably losing money at that point with gas and everything. So look at a batch before you swipe, unless it is over $50 or whatever amount you wanna set for yourself. Okay, look for items. This seems self-explanatory, but I will see so many Instacart shoppers just be like, okay, well, I'm looking in the cookie aisle and I don't see the Fig Newtons, so I'm just going to refund them or whatever, when really there could be Fig Newtons in like the natural aisle or maybe some other aisle, the healthy or the gluten-free aisle. It depends on how your stores are divided up, but I just highly recommend looking. You can ask people who work there. I can't say that's always going to be helpful for you. Yeah, don't just refund willy-nilly, because I see people do that. I have a friend who ordered on Instacart and she got so many items refunded that she would have given a replacement for, but they never even asked. And so she didn't even know what was going on because she didn't get any messages. So don't refund willy-nilly. Actually look for items, contact them. Last but not least, don't let your food get smashed. Try not to let your stuff get damaged in your car. I know it's hard, but especially bread and eggs, those things people expect to go wrong. And so then when they do, they're just like, well, aha, they did exactly what I expected. They did it wrong, you know? If I was ordering on Instacart, I would definitely check my bread, be like, okay, did they smash my bread? So do just try and keep things safe and don't let items get smashed if you can. I know it's hard, but put them on top, put them in your front seat, try and protect soft things, vegetables, tomatoes especially. I've realized tomatoes can get damaged easily, so just watch items like that and make sure that they don't get damaged. All right, those are all the mistakes that I recommend you really try and avoid. Now there are so many more, so comment down below your mistakes that you've made that you recommend avoiding, or maybe if you just never make mistakes, don't comment that down below. That sounds kind of weird, but everyone makes mistakes. I've made these mistakes, so I will miss you guys until I see you in my next video. Bye.